Welcome to the Last Minute Fantasy Scramble. We are here for the playoffs. We're reviewing the season that was. We're looking ahead towards the playoffs. Still here to answer any questions you got, whether it's Dynasty, DFS, whatever. We're still here to answer your questions. We're going to have a little fun in this one, too. We are going to go through our own playoff draft at the end of this show. So if you want to know who we like for the playoffs, stay tuned. We'll still be answering your questions throughout. That being said, I am Kevin K. Mac McCartney. Alongside me today, we got the whole crew here. We got Bobby Digital Janice. We got John Viveros. We got Bud Stanio. So, the season is over. And before we start taking a look at the playoffs, I want to go over a little bit about the season that was. So, let's take a look at these players that we had. And Bobby, you know what? I'm going to start with you. Who was your favorite fantasy surprise performance throughout the season? Any one guy that you just loved how he performed, and not necessarily on your team, but someone who just really stood out for you?
Yeah, it was per se Keenan Allen. I mean, there's a lot to choose from. Keenan Allen, again, some with like some other receivers this year or players had was a really good value pick. I think he was going fifth, sixth round. And when Justin Herbert took over as the starter, Keenan Allen was a top three fantasy wide receiver until the last two games when he was hurt. Especially in PPR league, I think he even had a game with 16 receptions, something like that. Obviously the change to Justin Herbert really boosted his value. And so especially, since I think most of us here play PPR anyway, from where you could get him and from based on expectations, I think Keenan Allen was one of those surprises for me.
All right, Bud, we're going to go with you next. Who do you like, or who have you liked so far this season? Who stood out for you the most?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest surprise is no surprise. It's James Robinson for me. He Picking him up was probably one of the riskiest moves. And if you jumped early and you got him, most people had already drafted. Like I had already drafted at that point, but to jump in and get him, it worked out very well for me because in my big league I had Marlon Mack and he went down, so it's kind of like weak at running back right off the bat. And then picking him up, it was just great because I know Zeke didn't perform too well, but he was my keeper, and I had him and Josh Jacobs, but then I had James Robinson, so I was flexing James Robinson most of the season. Um, and his story is pretty great because he came right out and he just started balling like right off the bat, and he had a record season for undrafted free agent running back. He had 1,000 yards on the ground. He had 7 touchdowns. He had 49 receptions. So PPR, you're really loving that. And he had almost 350 yards on that. He only fumbled once too, or he fumbled 3 times, but he only lost one. But he also had 3 receiving touchdowns. So his value is like really great. I know he didn't finish the season, but he took a lot of people to the playoffs, and that's worth noting. And it's pretty impressive to see a guy that didn't even get drafted, come into that role, be given the keys in terms of starting running back role and taking over and doing it. And you need to expect that he's going to be a big part of that offense going forward. And hopefully they get a good quarterback to go with him, whether it's Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, but he has great value going forward. And I was really happy with him this year.
All right, John, who's the guy for you?
It's a toss up because there's two people that I really like, but I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson. I personally didn't have him on any of my teams. I missed out on him trying to grab him. I was like, this is a fluke. I'm not going to worry about it, and I really wish I didn't. Guy was the fifth receiver drafted this year. Absolutely blew up. Like we weren't really sure what was going to happen in Minnesota after Stephon Diggs left. And I mean, he broke Randy Moss's record for most in Vikings history. Both broke the record for most receiving yards. I think by any rookie ever. And he basically, I mean, he wasn't really a factor in those first 2 games. So if he had played all 16 games, who knows how he would have performed. But I loved how he played. He's a bona fide star. He's gonna be insane. So if you have him in a dynasty or keeper league, you're set with your wide receiver one probably for the next at least 5 or 6 years.
All right. And yeah, for me, it was a toss up. I'm not really sure what we call a surprise performance. Like, for me, I just love for his late round value. I was so high on Stephon Diggs and the Josh Allen combo, and I tried to target both of them in all of my drafts. And in each league, I was able to get one of them, but none of them were able to get the stack, and was a little disappointed in that. But Stephon Diggs just completely exceeded expectations. And it's interesting talking about that comparison between him and Jefferson. Those two, I'm sure, are going to be receiving comparisons for the years to come because of that big trade that they made, which, in hindsight, seemed to work out great for both of them. Diggs just wasn't working out in Minnesota, and now he's moved to a system, to a quarterback where you could tell he's having fun. He had the most receptions in the league, he had the most yards in the league, and he is playing the best football of his career. On the other side, like you said, Justin Jefferson is just, the sky's the limit for him. He could very well be the best receiver in the NFL as soon as next year. So those are some things to look out for. So we talked about some of our favorite players of the year. Now we're going to take a look at the other side and who is our biggest fantasy disappointment for this year. John, I'm going to start with you this time.
There's a couple people that I would talk about, but I think I'm actually going to say Lamar Jackson, and that might be controversial to some people. But like, we had these, like, he had such a great season last year. Number one quarterback. He was number one. I think he was number one fantasy, or he was one or two fantasy score. It might have been just behind Christian McCaffrey last year. And we just had these like huge comparisons for him just based on last year. And he was quarterback. I believe he was quarterback. Hold on, 1, 2, 3. He was quarterback number 10 this year, and that's like a huge fall off. Like, you could tell, like, the offense wasn't great. He wasn't playing very well. He did play better towards the end of the season when they got into a little playoff push. But we just kind of wanted to see a little more consistency in like those high scoring games. We really didn't see that until about week 13, 14. So if you spent, like, a lot of people were taking Lamar Jackson in the first round, definitely in the second round, and like, when you're starting the playoffs in week 13 and 14, your season might be over because he just didn't perform. So I'll have him as my biggest fantasy disappointment right now.
All right, Bud, you are next. Who do you got as your biggest fantasy disappointment of the year, and why is it Ezekiel Elliott? Or is it?
That is a good one. I agree with you there.
No, it's Joe Mixon.
It is Joe Mixon, actually.
I knew it. I almost took it too.
Yeah, Joe Mixon, man. It's such a bummer because he had like that one game where he like popped off for like 30 to 40 PPR points, and then after that he just kind of like faded away. And I know like Cincinnati's offensive line has had its struggles over the last few years, and then Burrow got hurt, but we never ever had clarity on that after that. And Zach Taylor just kind of kept ducking, and it's like, oh, he won't play this week, so we have to wait another week. And that's where I came to learn who the Bengals beat writer was, and Ben Baby. And like, so now I'm following a new guy on Twitter just to see what Joe Mixon's status is, because I owned him in like multiple leagues.
Spoiler alert, he's out.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's kind of a bummer because we know the running back that Joe Mixon like is and can be, and he's really great. And then he gets hurt, and we didn't know the severity of it. And like, for all we know, the severity of that injury could probably not even be that bad. They were just like, you know what, just take the season off. We'll just keep stringing this along. I wish we got an IR tag, like, so I could put him on IR and get him out. Like, we didn't get that until like late in the season. But we just kept getting strung about. And for that reason, the Bengals are going to be a team I probably fade like next season. If I get burned by like a team or by a player, I tend to avoid them, going forward. But that's one guy I'm not going to mess with. Even if he does come back and start playing, like, that's cool. Like, somebody else could go ahead and like take the risk on him, but I'm not going to mess with him anymore.
All right, Bobby, who is your bust of the year?
Yeah, first I want to just backtrack on the surprises now that I have a little bit time to think. Actually, I'm going to change mine to Justin Herbert. There's nothing about Justin Herbert that I dislike in terms of his skill set, and he's just going to be a stud. What a surprise this year, top 10 fantasy QB. But yeah, disappointment going along the lines of similar to kind of like Joe Mixon type situation with Kenny Galladay. I personally was actually pretty high on him coming into this year. And he bangs up his hamstring first, and then he comes back, actually performs. He had no game less than 15 PPR fantasy points every time he played, but then he gets the hip. And then, it's kind of like they don't put him on IR. It's very vague. We don't know what's going on with him. They said like in I think it was like week 12 or 13 that he was running sprints like pregame or something. And he's posting stuff on his Instagram and then they fire Patricia. So I don't know what was going on with Kenny Galladay. It's definitely disappointing because I know I drafted him late second, and obviously a lot of people did, and a lot of people were relying on him as their wide receiver one, and for good reason because he's just a great young wide receiver. I think he's a stud in this league. He's proven that. Maybe it was contract related. Something's probably going to come out sooner rather than later, but definitely a huge disappointment to those in fantasy who either drafted him or tried to trade with him or something like that.
All right, and lastly for me, the guy I was going to go with is also on the Bud shows, and that's Joe Mixon. But another one at the top of my list who I had high hopes for this year. I like a guy who is going to get a lot of touches in the system, and I really thought that Kenyon Drake was going to be that guy, and that was one of the biggest ones I was wrong on. I did want to try to get him on multiple leagues. Thankfully, I only ended up getting him in one. Because even at the beginning, he did get the touches, but he just wasn't showing that production. Then you had Chase Edmonds, you had Murray on the goal line. It just was not a good fit for him. And how Bud was talking about players that you are going to avoid going forward. I'm sorry, Kenyon. I think I'm done with you. All right, so going forward, we are going to take a look at our favorite fantasy moment or performance of the year. And Bobby, I'm going to start with you this time. Who stood out for you? One particular game or even a single catch, run, touchdown? What was the biggest fantasy moment for you this year?
For me, it was Tyreek Hill in week 12 when he had 13 catches for 269 yards and 3 touchdowns, which was 57.9 fantasy points. That whole game was just ridiculous. I think he had 200 yards in the first quarter, halfway through the first quarter. But it was significant in particular for me because my opponent at the time had Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. So that was a huge deal. And I've never had a player who's had a game like that before. So for that in-game performance by Hill in week 12 was it for me.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and take this next one. This was one of my favorite fantasy performances ever, one of the best fantasy performances ever. That was championship week. Alvin Kamara, 6 touchdowns. I was watching that game. I had just finished celebrating Christmas, just cleaned up the house, just relaxing on the couch, watching this game, and seeing this man run 6 touchdowns. I felt like I had won already in 2 of my leagues. And yeah, from that point on, it wasn't even close. I had control the entire time. It's a good feeling when the very first game that your team is playing and you're up almost 60 points. And knowing that it's not very likely that anyone's going to catch you. So that was definitely my favorite performance. I know that Kamara won a ton of people their leagues this year. And just for putting that kind of show on during the biggest week of the year, that's definitely huge for me. So next, I am going to go to Bud.
Yeah, I totally agree with you with Kamara. That would have been one of mine. One of my favorite moments, just the fact that it was Christmas and it was championship week, like that was just incredible. And he wore Christmas cleats, and then he got fined for wearing Christmas cleats.
Totally worth it.
Fined for it. Yep.
It's like, how you gonna find this man? Anyways, one of my favorite moments would probably be when Russell Wilson was actually a cook before he, kind of got pulled back a little bit and brought back down to earth. the game with him and Tyler Lockett, where he threw Tyler Lockett 3 touchdowns. It was just awesome because it was so early in the season. But I ran a Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett stack, and that was like really the 1 week where it actually like paid off big time. And it led me to my highest scoring week across all my leagues. I scored 208 points in a PPR league, and it won me a cash bonus. So I'm gonna have to go with that for sure.
All right, and John, who's your guy, or who's your performance?
So it wasn't like a super significant performance. It was so just like groundbreaking in what was happening and how it was. And I'm gonna go with Taysom Hill week 11 when he was still categorized as a tight end. I know me and Bobby had we super flex that week in league not meant to be super flex.
I did
And
too.
like it literally yeah, exactly. I think we all did. Like I told you guys early on about it. I was like, I think on Monday I was like, hey guys, we may want to grab Taysom Hill. I think he's gonna start. And we're like, all right, yeah, we'll see what happens. And then like Friday, he was named the starter. And like I said, I think everyone except for Bud, at least in one league, we were super flexing, and it was so much fun. No, but it was just so crazy to see how this almost joke of a position that Sean Payton has made with Taysom Hill, and it affected fantasy so much. Like I had people in leagues like saying that he was like they were trying to get the commissioner to say that he's not allowed. I can't play him at quarterback at tight end because he's starting at quarterback. I'm like, it's an ESPN rule. Like there's nothing you can do about it. Like unless you're gonna just take him away from the game. So I had people, at least in some of my leagues, very very upset about it. But it's just, and then like obviously he got reclassified. He wasn't a dual threat anymore. So they were real quick to change that, but it was just so much fun for at least 1 week.
It's funny. In the 2 leagues that I actually did start him, I lost in both of those leagues that week, but I ended up winning the championship at the end in both of those leagues, so it all worked out. And speaking of which, I did have one other moment that was tied for my favorite. I have to bring this one up all the way back to week 4, early on in the season. Monday Night Football, I am up by 1.5 points going up against Calvin Ridley. I already know how this is going to end, or so I thought. Couldn't watch a game, tracking it slowly, seeing 1 quarter, 2 quarter, 3 quarters, and finally 4 quarters go by without a single catch. And somehow I hung on going against who at the time was like the hottest receiver in the NFL to somehow win the game. So that's just about up there with that 6 touchdown Kamara performance. Just seeing that guy who was on fire. Actually, that was the only week out of the first 5 weeks of the season that he didn't just go off. And I believe at the time he was the top fantasy receiver. So that was a early season memory for me that I'm not going to forget anytime soon. All right, we have one last category we want to go down while we talk about our season in review, and that is our fantasy football MVPs. John, I'm going to start it off with you. Who is your fantasy football MVP for this year?
So as much as I want to pick him because he's he's probably my favorite players in the league right now. That's Justin Herbert. He was definitely a league winner, but I would not say he's a league MVP. League MVP, it's none other than Josh Allen. Like QB1, absolutely popped off. Like everything they did in Buffalo was exactly right. They built that team around him. They gave him a support staff. They brought him in a bona fide wide receiver 1. And he performed. I mean, he only finished with, he had like 10 interceptions on the year, 37 touchdowns, dual threat on the ground, over 400 yards rushing, 8 touchdowns. He was a monster. Like nothing more to say about that. And he 100% earned that. Like he outperformed Aaron Rodgers, outperformed Kyler Murray, outperformed Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, all these guys that we've been talking about for years. But just like as like these like fantasy MVP, these high level players, and he was like, nah, I got this, guys. I didn't have him in any leagues, but you got to respect him.
Yeah,
Almost 400 points on the whole season in PPR leagues.
I don't think it'll come as any surprise that that most of us are big fans of Josh Allen on this show, even despite most of our teams playing against him, with the exception of Bud. But yeah, I don't think it could go that.
I think it's like at least. No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying. Yeah, it's no secret. We have 4 Josh Allen still dancing around our stream. If you're watching, we've been big fans of him since day 1 this year. I know a lot of us were very high on him in the draft, and yeah, I don't think that we've had this kind of performance. Well, I guess there was the Lamar Jackson year the last year, but in the Patrick Mahomes, but yeah, this is just a breakout performance, and he really, really stepped it up to the next level. In there in the MVP conversation, and yeah, he's gonna be one of those top named quarterbacks that you're gonna be mentioning for a long time. So, Bud, who's your fantasy MVP?
Well, so since
I
John
definitely
took
stole Bud's thunder.
Josh Allen,
I took it too. I don't care.
yeah, no. Well, I will say this, that when the Bills drafted Josh Allen, I was all in on Josh Allen since day one. Like, I am a Josh Allen truther, and I have been, and like this year has just been like incredible because everybody that I play with that like bashed him and knocked him for even being a Bill, like, they're not saying anything now. It's just it's crickets, and I love every second of it. But I will say, fantasy MVP wise, I didn't even own this guy, but it has to be Derrick Henry for me, for two reasons. Mainly for his performance. He cracked 2,000 yards on the NFL regular season, so that was like super awesome. And all the stiff arms he threw, he stiff armed Josh Norman, which is great. Josh Norman's on my team, and I don't like Josh Norman at all, so that was pretty satisfying to see. But also, I'm gonna give him MVP for a different reason, because in championship week, he's part of the reasons I ended up winning, because I faced him and he only dropped 9.8 points. He only ran 98 yards, and he saved his 250-yard game for week 17. So, hats off to Derrick Henry, but he's awesome. I wish I could own him in my big league. My opponent does own him as a keeper for one more year, so he's not in the pool. But I'm definitely going to be trying to target that guy in my other leagues if I'm able to. I mean, Derrick Henry, depending on format, definitely needs to be considered like top 3, top 5 pick overall. Obviously, in standard, he holds a little more value because he doesn't catch a whole lot of passes. So for PPR, he's probably down a little bit, but the guy's a freak, and he shows that he can run, and it's just going to keep going on. And I mean, right now it's the time, to strike while the iron's hot and while he's still young, because we see running backs, everybody except Frank Gore, by the time they get to 30, they just basically fall off.
What's Frank Gore, like 60 now?
I don't know anymore. That guy's immortal. He's a friggin' Highlander, dude. Like, but he's 37 actually. But yeah, So I really liked Derrick Henry this year. I wish I owned him, but yeah, I ended up going Zeke in one of my leagues, and I didn't go for him, so I kind of paid a price on that one. But
all right, Bobby, who's your fantasy MVP for this year?
My fantasy MVP is Devontae Adams. I talk about him a lot the last few podcasts, but I had him on the 2 leagues I won my championships in. He was on my roster, and probably one of the main reasons why I was able to win. Bouncing back from week 15 kind of dud to balling out in week 16. 18 touchdowns on the year, the number 1 fantasy receiver, and I mentioned this a few times. In my opinion, I think that he is the best in terms of pure route running and getting separation with some strong hands. I think he's the best in the business right now. Obviously, you can debate 3 or 4 other guys, and I have no problem with it, but that's just my opinion. And I think, K-Mac, you sent out that thing a few days ago on our chat about, the top 10 or so guys that the highest percentage of guys that were on the highest percentage of championship rosters. So we already mentioned a lot of them. Travis Kelce's another one as well. And then Adams is there on that list also. So for me, that was my fantasy MVP.
All right. So that about wraps it up for us talking about the season that was. Now we're going to take a look at the NFL playoffs. So we got a bunch of games in what is being called Super Wild Card Weekend. Is that right? That's what it was? All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so
it's the back-to-back triple headers.
yeah, no, it's going to be a fun weekend of football. And with only one bye week team, it's going to make things very interesting. It's very possible that really good teams could go home after just 1 week. So we're going to start by taking a look at each one of these games. And, Bud, since yours is the only team that is actually in the playoffs out of all of our teams, why don't you kick it off with the Colts at the Bills? What is your thoughts on that game?
I think it's going to be awesome. Ex-AFC East team, the Colts, is they're coming up to Buffalo. Buffalo's getting fans in the stands, so it's a big day. The Bills are 7-1 at home, so what better to keep performing well at home with 6,800 of your loudest, rowdiest fans, and the ones that are there are fortunate enough, or they're going to be paying $10,000 is the cheapest ticket right now. But the Bills are on fire. Their offense has been pretty great. I mean, we saw Josh Allen do 200 plus yards and 3 touchdowns in one half of football against a good Dolphins defense. Now the Colts defense is very good. I think their secondary is a little weaker than their front defensive linemen and things of that nature. So it's going to be up to the offensive line to give Josh Allen the time, and they've been very good with that. If you ever see Josh Allen freeze in the pocket, he does it a lot. He does get a lot of time, so that's kind of a good omen for him, and you hope that he could get the Diggs. Now I know Diggs got listed as questionable today. It's an oblique injury. I think it's just smoke and mirrors. They tweeted that today, just I think kind of to mess with the Colts a little bit, but Diggs is going to play. The one receiver that is on the fence is going to be Cole Beasley. We don't know if he's actually going to go yet or not, but John Brown is there to pick up the slack, and now you have Isaiah McKenzie, and now you have you still have Gabriel Davis there, who is a great receiver, UCF boy.
Yeah,
yeah,
go Knights!
I knew he'd like that. But so you have those guys there, and then I know eventually we're gonna have Kenny Stills too. So there's so many options. Like, you just keep giving this guy weapons, he's gonna feast. Tyler Croft's gonna come back. Dawson Knox is still gonna get some work. He is more of a blocking tight end, but he does get some catches. So I think they're gonna try to torch the secondary here, and try to get going. And our defense is playing pretty well, and they're a lot healthier than they were beginning in the season. So you kind of hope that they could get going on that front. But on the other side, on the other side of the ball, for the Colts, I said it. I don't even remember when. It was like around like week 10, week 11, somewhere around there when they played the Titans the first time. I said that the Colts were going to eventually get going offensively, and it's really proven. And now it looks like Frank Reich used to back up Jim Kelly in Buffalo, so there's a little storyline stuff there. But anyways, starting to trust Jonathan Taylor a little bit more. And we saw this in the Jacksonville game. He had a franchise record 253 rushing yards and 2 scores on Jacksonville, and he's averaging 86.3 yards a game. Now, in the past shows that we've done, I was really not for Jonathan Taylor, and I'm eating my own words now. He's performing, but they're actually relying on him. They're not like trying the hot hand situation, which is what they were doing earlier on. And Jonathan Taylor is developed into what we know that he could be. He's a Wisconsin running back. Feed him the damn ball. And if there is one way to beat Buffalo, it's going to be running the ball. So they need to make sure that they get the ball into his hands. And Phil Rivers is a great game manager. And, that's one thing that, bothers me a little bit. He can't sling the ball down super far, but he does have good weapons. T.Y. Hilton is a proven wide receiver, and Michael Pittman Jr. is a great rookie wide receiver, and Zach Pascal is a good receiver. A lot of these guys are kind of underrated, and I hope that the Bills defense doesn't take them for granted, and they kind of put some pressure on them. And it's also going to be up to the Bills defensive line to break through and try to get to Phil Rivers and pressure him, because if the Bills get ahead, which I think they're going to, Phil Rivers is going to try to throw that ball a lot, and a lot of a lot of the Bills being successful on that front and not letting him get going is going to be them putting pressure on Phil Rivers. But I do think the Bills are going to come out of this ahead just because of how high scoring they've been, and also on special teams too. That's one thing I really like. I really like our return men. Isaiah McKenzie got some work in the Dolphins game, but
on that hold. There was a hold on the play.
I didn't see anything.
That was questionable.
That was a clear hold.
I'm not bitter.
Called.
Yeah, nothing got called. Looked clean to me. But our real return man, Andre Roberts, is coming back, and he was a Pro Bowl selection for special teams, just for his average return yards this season. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And Tyler Bass, our kicker, is pretty decent too. So I think it's going to be a good game. It's going to be awesome. But I'm definitely rooting for the Bills here. So
Dolphins would have won if it wasn't for that holding call.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, we'll
Bobby.
take away 7 points. It still ends 49-26.
Anyone's game. Bobby, you got something on this game?
Yeah, this is going to be my upset of the week. I'm going to take the Colts here.
No.
For a lot. Yeah, this is just what I'm seeing, man. From angles. Look, when it comes to the playoffs, it's a whole different ball game, and it's all about running the football and who can stop the run. It becomes a lot more physical. We've seen a lot last year, especially Kansas City, even known as a pass finesse team, doubled their rushing attempts in the playoffs. San Francisco, Baltimore, Tennessee, they were all one of the most run heaviest teams in the NFL last year, and they made it pretty far. I think the Colts are going to come in here with a game plan similar to what they did against Kansas City in 2019 last year, in one of the regular season games there, where they kind of just dominated time of possession, forced Mahomes and that offense in dink and dunk. And they've done that in the previous year when they made the playoffs in 2018. I think they're built and they have the blueprint to beat a team like Buffalo, because there's two things that concern me with Buffalo. And Bud, you mentioned one of them is their run defense. Jonathan Taylor is the second leading rusher in the NFL since week 11 under only Derrick Henry. You look at game film from Taylor from the first few weeks of the season, he just wasn't seeing the field. He wasn't up to par with an NFL caliber defense, but you see now how it's clicked for him. And like you said, they're finally giving him the ball. The Colts want to have one of the best offensive lines in football. And while their secondary is a little bit banged up, they still have a really good defensive unit. DeForest Buckner is going to be healthy for this game. He's expected to play. And I think they're going to do their best to contain Buffalo, force them to dink and dunk. They're going to try not to let them beat Buffalo over the top. And we're talking a lot about the Bills, and for good reason, but they have to win a playoff game first. We have to see it. Josh Allen has to win a playoff game. And again, I personally don't think that these high-flying offenses might not fare as well in the playoffs. I need to see more from Buffalo in terms of them being able to run the ball, because Zach Moss and Devin Singletary have not been that eye-popping to me. I think they've just been average at best. But because of how well the offense is playing through the air, I think that masks a lot of their issues, and I think they get exposed here. But it's not going to be a blowout. I think the Colts are going to win 24-19.
All right, so I just got to step in here for a moment. Yeah, I agree. The Colts are sneaky good this year, and against a lot of teams, I really like them. But the Buffalo Bills, they're really, really good. And, the saying has been, if you want to win a championship in the NFL, you got to run the ball and play defense. But then you see this team, the Kansas City Chiefs, go out there, Patrick Mahomes. When you have a guy who could place the ball wherever he wants on the field, it doesn't matter. And I think Josh Allen has entered that hemisphere. Whether or not he could do it in the playoffs yet, that's a different story. But when you have one of those guys, these game changers who will put the ball wherever they want it, running game almost becomes a thing of the past. And you don't need one of those stud running backs to really get you far. So you see Kansas City did it last year, and I think that Buffalo could do it this year. I'm not sure I'm saying that they're going to make it all the way to the Super Bowl, but I definitely at least like them over the Colts. But John, you were saying something?
Oh no, I can hop in though. I don't mind. No, I think this game is gonna be. I think it's gonna be sneaky good. I don't think it's gonna. I don't have Indianapolis winning. I just don't have enough faith in them personally. It's gonna come down to like the running game of Indianapolis and the passing game of Buffalo. If Buffalo, or if Josh Allen gets going and he doesn't commit turnovers, he gets a fast start like he did last year in the playoffs, and the defense doesn't let Jonathan Taylor get going. If they slow down Jonathan Taylor on the first 2 drives, and Josh Allen puts 14 in the first quarter, the game will be over because Philip Rivers doesn't have the capacity to throw the ball like he used to and to lead that air raid offense. And Indianapolis isn't built that way. So if Buffalo's defense digs in at home, it's the first home playoff game in what, Bud, since the 90s.
95.
So exactly, yeah. So first home playoff game in '95. Like Bills Mafia's gonna be jacked. Like all 6,000 of them, however many it is, they're all gonna be jacked up, ready to go. They're gonna make some noise, and if that defense is gonna be amped. Like I said, that's gonna be the first thing. Like I'm gonna look for. Like in those first 2 possessions, if Buffalo goes up real quick and Indianapolis doesn't get anything, the game is over. But if Indianapolis can like control time possession, run it down their throat, Buffalo can't stop them, then we'll have a ball game. I still think Buffalo wins, but I think Indianapolis definitely have to score early, and they have to rein in Josh Allen, make him on a little longer drives, make sure that they don't just have these quick strike scores.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel about it, John. I think it's gonna be a really close game. But Bobby, man, how you gonna do me like that, bro? Really? You're breaking my heart, man.
Man, dude, I'm sorry, bro. That's what I feel right now. I'm looking at that's what I think. I think Colts are going to take it. It's not going to be a blowout. Like I agree. I agree with you guys saying it's a close game. Like I think one thing we can agree upon is I don't think it's going to be like a 56-20 type game. I mean, if anything, it's going to be Buffalo doing that. But I think it's going to be close no matter what. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. But
Yeah, I think it's close. I think it's going to be a close game, but I don't think it's going to be as low scoring as you think it is, one way or another. I mean, the over under is like 51.5 in this game. I'm definitely like smashing over. I think it's going to be a little more high scoring than people think. But
it actually adjusted, but it's down to 51 now. I'm looking at the lines right now.
yeah,
is there bad weather projected at all in this game?
I don't believe so. I think it's supposed to be pretty decent. Let me see. I have the preview up, but yeah, I think it's supposed to be decent. I haven't heard anything about snow, but I mean, even so, like snow, I'm not too much worried about. It's more rain and wind. Wind is always the concern, but
in Buffalo is rough at New Era.
All right. Well, we've talked enough about the Colts Bills game.
Yeah,
we
let's
still got
move on.
8 other games.
Come on.
I don't know my math. 5 other games. Yeah, we need to talk about. Let's take it from the Northeast to the Northwest. We got the Rams at the Seahawks. Bobby, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, throughout the whole week, I was really kind of going back and forth on this one. But now, as I've seen some more things come out and I've thought about it a little more, I believe that the Seahawks are going to win this football game. We don't even know if Jared Goff's going to start. But one thing with the Seahawks is since they've acquired Carlos Dunlap, their defense has been a lot more stingy lately, and that's been a key for them, I think. And I just don't understand. Bud mentioned earlier about Russell Wilson, how in the first half of the season, they were letting Russ cook finally, and you saw what he was doing. They were 6-2 to start, and then they kind of went back to that balanced offense that they were running all of last year. And I don't really understand why. The offense has been really stagnant. Now, if there's a team you want to let Russ cook against, it's not the Rams, who have one of the best secondaries in the NFL. But when it comes to these two teams, it's still going to be close because it's a division battle, in my opinion. But even if Jared Goff plays, I'm going to take Seattle. I like Pete Carroll as a better coach than McVay slightly, and I just trust Russell Wilson more than I trust Jared Goff in a playoff game. They've been there, done that before, and in these type of games, sometimes that's a deciding factor. So I'll take Seattle here.
Yeah, and I think going back to it, this is a kind of run the ball and play defense kind of game. I don't see Russell Wilson going off too big, especially in this playoff kind of situation. It's a tough opponent against the Rams, and it's hard to see what's going to happen. They already played twice in the year, but I think this is going to be one of the closer games this week. But any of you other guys' thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat too. Like, I really want to pick the Rams. I love the Rams. Me and Bobby we were both big fans of the Rams, big fans of Sean McVay. But the I look for is Week 16. I mean, 20-9. The Seahawks defense has definitely one of the worst ones to start the season, but then they've gotten better, especially in the secondary. And if Goff is playing, makes it a little easier. But if he's not playing, like this is going to be a wash. I don't see the Rams coming to this one, unfortunately. As much as I want them to, I just don't see it. Like the line is is 3.5. I think right now in favor of the Seahawks, and I think this is going to be at least a touchdown, maybe 10 to like 2 touchdowns.
All right, Bud, got anything on this one?
Yeah. I'll keep it quick. Like I know that the Rams have traditionally given Russell his problems. But I said it on the Week 16 game. I didn't think that Russell was going to have like a crazy good performance, but that Seattle would try to find a way to win, and they know the ways to win, and when it depends also on Goff. If Goff's there, I expect a little more competition, but um, we don't know that yet, so it's going to be dependent on that, but. I think that Seattle finds a way to win this game. I don't expect like a crazy passing game from Russell on this. He's going to make smart, calculated plays rather than just throw it at Jalen Ramsey. That's going to be something that doesn't happen. So I expect smaller pass plays and more conservative football playing. Like they're going to be careful with this, and it's a game that they definitely want to win, especially against a rival. And but I do think that Seattle's going to pull it out. I don't know what to even like really think about the Rams right now, especially with Goff being hurt, because I don't know how that's going to impact the receivers. And I also I'm not even like the running back situation kind of has me like question marks. Like I don't understand it, and is Cam Akers even like healthy? Is he going to get the workload if he is getting carries, or are they just going to let like Darrell Henderson go the whole time? It's too much for me to like really think about, but I do think that just based off of Week 16 that Seattle's going to find a way to win this game and advance to where they can actually let Russ cook and like throw the ball against whoever they play next.
All right, and for this next game, we are taking a look. Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up against a football team that has no name. So, John, what are your thoughts on this game?
This is actually my upset pick, and I've talked about it. I talked about it, I think, on the podcast on Sunday. I was like, just with how the seating could work out. But I actually like the football team. I think that the fact that they get the home playoff game, front four is no joke, and that's like Tom Brady. Like we said, Tom Brady doesn't like to get hit, doesn't like to get touched. He likes his clean pocket. Princess Tommy over here. And sure, he is the GOAT. He's got his rings, but this isn't New England. This is Tampa. This is with an offense that doesn't seem to be. It's working, but you can tell he's not as happy was at New England. Him and Arians are kind of butting heads a little bit, and I think this Washington team is prime for the take. Like they're ready to go. I mean, Alex Smith, comeback player of the year. They were even though they got that fin against the Eagles on Sunday night. Let's be honest, they were amped. Like they were like bring on Brady. We want to see him because they know that their matchup with him is a lot better than it was with any other team. And I wouldn't be surprised if this defense finds a way to just like grind out the Bucks. We're not sure on Mike Evans' status yet. I think he's got the Q last I saw. But I like this one like a 17-13, like 13-10 kind of low scoring game. I think Washington finds a way to do it. Washington's +8 right now, so if you can bet, throw that money on the Redskins because that's some free money right there.
I think they're called the football team now, but I actually agree with you on this
sorry,
one.
sorry.
I do like the football team in this one, especially with those 8 points. I think they are sneaky good. They're a little bit better than their record, and this is Tom Brady going on the road. I don't know. I feel that this one, if Washington doesn't win, it is going to be close. I know there are a lot of people predicting the Bucks to go to the Super Bowl. I am not one of them. I think that their playoffs can actually end quite quick this year. Bud?
Yeah, I'm glad John said it, so I wasn't the only one. I'm really like rooting for Washington right now. Rivera's righted that ship a little bit. Alex Smith coming back is really great because he kind of heightens everybody's values. Terry McLaurin and Logan Thomas, man, I'm super high on that guy. Like I don't care what anybody else says. Like that dude is. I expect big things out of him next season, but even in these playoffs, it's going to kind of heighten his value a little bit. but and Gibson and McKissick, like they have the tools there. And I do know that Tampa's defense is pretty good, but I do think that Washington's going to play just as tough on defense on their end. That defensive line is sick. Chase Young is sick. Like there's no other way to dice that up. And
Chase Young is out for blood.
dude, yeah, he
definitely is.
He wants Brady, and now Arians is talking smack to him. I think that the Washington defense is going to become like a defensive juggernaut in the next give it like a good draft class and maybe a couple trades. And now that Rivera's got like the keys to the kingdom over there, like I expect them to get even better, and that's like super scary. And there were sneaky good streamable defense this year. It paid off for me in a matchup where I really needed, like I always carry multiple defenses, but I ended up like bouncing off of like Indy and going to Washington in a week that they earned me like 22 points because they get strip sack fumbles, they get sacks a lot, and they're good at keeping other teams' points low. And I mean, we have seen the Bucs struggle. I know that they have all these weapons there, but I mean, if they get in Brady's face and they knock them around a little bit and they kind of keep them at bay, then they have a very good chance of winning this game. But yeah, I mean, it is also possible that Tampa could figure it out and slice and dice them and turn it into a runaway.
All right, Bobby, did you have anything on this game before we move on to Sunday's games?
Yeah, real quick. I'm going to disagree with you guys again. I'm going to take the Bucs here, but I agree it's going to be a close game. When it comes to the playoffs, I look a lot of factors, but I think that the IQ and experience of quarterbacks and coaching staffs is super important. And I agree with Bud 100% about Washington in terms of I love where they're headed. I love Ron Rivera. I think they're going to get better and better, especially on that defense. But even though I'm going to be rooting for the Washington football team because I'm not a fan of Brady, him being in our division all those years, it's hard to bet against him in the playoffs. I think he's starting to hit his stride. The last few games they've been playing really well on offense. I think they have some guys on the defense that might step it up, some veteran guys as well. So I think the Bucs get it done here, but it's going to be a really interesting game in my opinion.
All right, so moving on to Sunday's games, we start with the Ravens at the Titans. Bud, what do you got in that game?
I think this is going to be like the best game of the slate. Honestly, I think there's a lot to prove here for both sides. I mean, Tennessee had their run last year. They beat Tom Brady and the Patriots, and they kind of went on. But also Lamar Jackson hasn't won a playoff game yet, and after like last week's performance, they kind of balled out, and they're starting to figure out things a little bit, and they're letting J.K. Dobbins run free. So I kind of like him and Gus Edwards being the 1-2 punch, because Gus Edwards has always been like the number 2 guy. Even when he was running in college, he was always there to go ahead and truck, and he's a pure muscle back. But J.K. Dobbins is just so elusive, and he's young, and he looks really great. So you hope that the run game could help get things going a little bit. But Lamar Jackson has actually come into his own. That's one thing about this team. Like between the two backs and between Lamar Jackson, these guys are running for like 300 yards, 400 yards a game. It's absurd. And I think that every bit of the offensive weaponry is just going to come out. Like Lamar Jackson's going to run, and he's been throwing the ball really good. So I expect like Miles Boykin to get work. I expect Hollywood Brown to get work. I expect Mark Andrews to continue doing what he's doing. And I think that they are going to put some pressure on the Titans a little bit, and especially on a Titans defense that gave up all these points last week. What was it, 38 points to the Texans? And I mean, it screams opportunity for them. And their defense is also really good. But they're going to have to go against Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry has just been running mad, and the king is mad. Like he's gonna run. They're gonna feed him the ball like crazy, and but Tannehill's been playing pretty good too. AJ Brown, man, that catch last week, that was impressive. Like that was like the jaw dropping moment. Like week 17, yeah, all these guys sat. Week 17 was probably like one of the lights out, like best like fantasy, like weird fantasy weeks ever. And like that was like one of the things that ended up like helping them win that game and get out of that situation for overtime. Like that was incredible. That guy has a great future. He's going to be awesome. But I mean, even but the other guys there, Jonnu Smith is starting to pick back up, which is good because he was kind of a letdown this season. He started off hot and then he kind of fell apart. But I expect them to lean on the running game a lot here. But they really need to put their foot on the gas, and I think both offenses are really going to beat the crap out of each other. So I'm really looking forward to watching it. But there's a lot on the line, and these teams traditionally play each other tough, and Lamar Jackson wants to kind of silence the critics. I do think that the Ravens are going to pull away in this one because they're going to run with all three of their guys and kind of get going and hopefully score a lot of points. But I think it's going to be them. I do like the Titans a lot, but I just don't think that they'll be able to keep up.
Yeah, so the Titans are actually my third favorite team to come out of the AFC. I really like them this year. Derrick Henry I think he has proven to be the best pure rusher in the NFL. He can get around you, he can get through you. On the ground, there's no one better. Ryan Tannehill has really stepped up into his game. He has found a great home in Tennessee, and his receivers are just on the same page with him, whether it's A.J. Brown or Corey Davis. They have a good offense there. Now, what concerns me a little bit is where their defense has gone. Early on in the season, I think that they were one of the best defenses, but it's just hard to see. And I think that they are one of the best teams, I could also easily see them going down as early as this week to the Baltimore Ravens. But I still like Tennessee in this game, and I think that they have potential to go far in the playoffs. Not that I'm saying it's going to happen, but I can easily see them making at least the AFC Championship game.
I mean, real quick, I could spend days talking about this game. I'm with you, bud. This is going to be, I think, the best game of the slate. I'm really looking forward to this one. And what Tennessee did in the playoffs last year was just beautiful in terms of their coaching, how they used Henry, how they used Tannehill as using Henry to attract that defense, and then Tannehill was able to run off of that and hit some deep balls and make the plays necessary. And the thing that concerns me about Tennessee, though, we mentioned about, is their defense. Their defense was a lot more stout last season in the playoffs. This season, it's been not very good at all. And then in Baltimore side, it's all there for them. They're built to win in the playoffs. The question becomes, again, can Lamar Jackson, is he going to choke in the playoffs again this year? I think that those are the two big questions. I think that Lamar does exercise his playoff demons. I think the Ravens win this game. The Ravens are 13-1 when Lamar has 90 yards rushing or more in his career. So I think they're going to run the ball very well against Tennessee. Their defense isn't very good. Lamar is going to get comfortable. And I think the Ravens are going to win an exciting game.
All right, John, got
Yeah,
anything to add?
I definitely. No, I was gonna say that. I think this. It's hard to say which game is going to be actually the best one of the slate because we do have quite a few good games. I probably would lean this one honestly. I think that this is gonna be. A lot of people are saying this is Lamar Jackson's make or break. He has to prove he can win in the playoffs. 0-2, 0-2 at home currently in the playoffs as well. Two very very lackluster performances in the last seasons. But I think this isn't the same Tennessee team that we saw last year that went into Baltimore and just shoved it down their throat and absolutely just completely shut down the Ravens. Completely different defense. They are built a little. They're that offense is still serious, but the defense is not the same. I like the Ravens here. I don't think it's going to be as big of a blowout as, or like by like the line as high as they're saying it. I think it's down. It was higher, but it's down to 3.5 now. I'm definitely smashing the over 54 points. I think we're gonna see a high scoring game, especially after seeing how Tampa lit up last week by Houston. Took a kind of a miraculous catch and throw by from Tannehill to AJ Brown to get them that win, and definitely kept them out of going to Buffalo. So they had the home playoff game. But I do like the Ravens here. I think this is prime for Lamar Jackson to make his. This might be his little run that he gets to go on in the at least this postseason.
All right, so we only have 2 games left to look at. This next one is the Bears at the Saints. Bobby, why don't you kick us off for this one?
Yeah, this one for me is fairly clear and simple, and I'll make it quick. As for the Bears, I've said it all along. I'm not a fan of Matt Nagy. And is it a coincidence that when he stopped calling plays, all of a sudden their offense started putting up some legitimate points? So I think their culture is not too good over there. But anyway, I love the Saints. Sean Payton, I think, is a great coach. I love what they're doing. Looks like they're going to get Michael Thomas back. Looks like Alvin Kamara should be cleared in time. And their defense has just been playing really, really well. Very impressive defense the last few games. I love the Saints here, big.
All right. Anyone else have anything to add? I know that I feel the same way about this game. I don't think it's going to be close. I think that this is the most lopsided matchup of the entire slate of games, but that's just me.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Like, Saints are 10-point favorites. Like, they're gonna absolutely roll them out. Like, this isn't gonna be close at all. And even Kamara tweeted, I think about an hour ago, he said, "See you guys Sunday." So he's playing. He's ready to go.
All right, I think we all agree on this one. So let's move on to the Browns at the Steelers. John, what are your thoughts on this one?
I've been going back and forth on this one like all week. Like I've even been going back and forth on this up until like the last 2 weeks when I kind of saw how the bracket was shaping up and how like I was like, we might get this matchup back-to-back weeks. Browns obviously won last week. It was a lot closer than they probably do, but I mean, a lot of people weren't playing for the Steelers. They get all of them back this week, especially at home. Browns haven't won at. I don't think the Browns have won at Heinz Field since they became the Browns again. Well, Heinz Field wasn't around in the 90s anyway. But they've lost 17 straight again. I don't know if that falls to like they've never won at Heinz Field, but they've lost 17 straight games at Heinz Field, one a season essentially. And I'm not a believer in the Steelers. I think they're super overrated. I think that if they do find a way to survive this game against the Browns, they're going to lose next week to Buffalo. It's not even going to be close. Josh Allen's going to absolutely annihilate them. But I don't know. There's just something I can't because we saw the Jets are going to Jets. I think the Browns are going to Brown. But if they got the matchup, I would say it was probably best for them in this. Like they know the Steelers. They've played them. They play them twice a year, every year. Just going to Heinz Field. Going to Heinz Field is going to be tough, but it's not the same Heinz Field because they don't have fans. So they don't have to deal with the towel. They don't have to deal with all the crap that they do in Pittsburgh. So I think it's going to be closer. The line is 6 right now. I think it's going to be closer than that. It's going to be a field goal game. I honestly, I can't even make a prediction. Gun to my head, I say the Steelers, but I really want to say the Browns.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in the same boat with you. Just to put it simply, I think the Steelers are gonna win, but I feel the Browns are gonna win. So, yeah.
I'm gonna pick the Steelers to win this. I think Ben having a little bit of rest, he's gonna just open up and really sling the ball, and I do think that Baker is gonna kind of not play good. I think he's just gonna severely like underperform, and I don't know. I think that it's going to be the Steelers, and personally, if my Bills do win, I want the Steelers again because I know that we can beat them, and I would like to smack them around again. kind of. I've been into the consensus that they've been kind of like when they were on that win streak and they were 11-0. I kind of was on the boat that they're a fraud, like undefeated team, and then it got proved and they lost 3 straight, and I kind of want to just beat them up again, but I like Steelers in this.
Yeah, I agree. I like Pittsburgh. I mean, for one, the Browns aren't even going to have their head coach able to. Kevin Stefanski's not able to coach in this game because of COVID, and that might be a bigger blow than you'd think. And the other thing is they're missing one of their key guards for this game. And on top of that, the Steelers have just kind of, like John mentioned, they've kind of owned Cleveland, especially at home. And so I just don't see how the Steelers lose to the Browns twice in a row, even though they had their backups in last week. So, and you give me Big Ben over Baker in a playoff game any day of the week. Big Ben's been there, done that. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the Steelers in general. Like I did think as well that they were overrated. But when it comes to this matchup, I will lean Pittsburgh here.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that. It's just like I said, it's just there's something about the Steelers. Just I can't. It's just hard to say, hard for me to pick them. Like a lot of people are picking them. Like a lot of money is going in on them, betting wise. So like that's why the line is a little like lopsided, like I was saying. But it just seems, I don't know, like it just seems like the perfect time for the Browns to actually like do something right. But again, like Baker's first playoff game, like he hasn't really played a meaningful game in his NFL career. He hasn't played a meaningful game probably since the college football playoff against Georgia when he won the Heisman. So we'll see. We'll definitely see.
All right, so I think that wraps it up for our talk on this first playoff round. Just one last thing. We are going to try to get in one more show before the Super Bowl, but before we get there, I think we all got to give our Super Bowl picks. So we are going to start with Bud. Super Bowl picks. 2 teams going at it, and who's your winner?
Oh boy. Super Bowl picks. That's all you want? You don't want any? I have my bracket made. All right, we'll keep it quick though, because we got other pressing matters to get to. Nobody's gonna like this. I have the Bills going to the Super Bowl.
What?
Oh, who knew?
But I have them going against the Packers. I think it's going to be Bills Packers in Super Bowl, and the Bills are going to come out on top by a touchdown.
All right, Bobby is doing throwing up emojis in the chat because he believes that the Bills are going down in the first round. So, Bobby, I'm going to go to you next. I don't believe that you have Bills in the Super Bowl.
That's correct. Bills are going out in the first round, 24-19. So we're just doing Super Bowl picks. I like the Chiefs and the Saints in the Super Bowl, and I think the Saints will win. Again, I believe that Andy Reid and Sean Payton are the 2 best coaches in the field remaining. I think Breeze goes out as a champion, kind of like Peyton Manning did and Ray Lewis did. And as for Kansas City, I like them still in the AFC. So if we're just talking about straight up Super Bowl, that's my Super Bowl pick.
All right, John, who's your Super Bowl picks?
I actually have the same Super Bowl, but I have the Chiefs winning. I have Patrick Mahomes going back to back. Breeze does not get the ride off into the sunset that I think he most desperately is. I think the Chiefs get tested early though, because they're gonna have to go through the Ravens and they have to go through Buffalo, have to go through the Saints. Like that's quite a road even with a bye. So I do take, and then it just comes down to a shootout. The Saints are serious. So the Saints defense is a lot better than people give them credit for. One of the best defenses in football. Looking to prove a lot.
Yes. Yes.
But I like I said though, I think that the Chiefs are just too much. They're just like on paper like best against the best. I think that this defense usually wins championships, but when you have Patrick Mahomes, the future GOAT, as your quarterback, like it doesn't matter. Give me Patrick Mahomes against anyone. Give me Patrick Mahomes every day and twice on Sunday.
Even on a bye week, you can play Patrick Mahomes. He'll still get you a few points.
Oh yeah, exactly. He finds a way.
Yep.
I have been saying since pretty much the second half of the season that the Super Bowl champion is going to be coming out of the AFC, and I have changed my mind. Kansas City Chiefs. I know this is the boring pick. 2 bye week teams. I just don't see it any other way. yeah, possibly the Bills or maybe the Titans could sneak in. And on the other side, yeah, I just think that the only two teams could be Green Bay or the Saints. I don't see the Bucks going too far. I know a lot of people do have them as a pick to go to the Super Bowl. And yeah, don't like the Rams, don't like the Seahawks. So I believe that Aaron Rodgers is going to win ring number 2. He's a man on a mission this year. He was counted out. He was not given support by his team. With the first round pick, they drafted his replacement. You know Aaron's angry. So I see him coming back. I see him winning it all this year. And I think he's doing it just to prove his team wrong. So yeah, I got Packers over Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, I have Packers and I have Packers losing in the championship game. But I guess yeah, there's definitely to be considered. Like, you know, going to Lambeau in January. Like, we might be mid blizzard. How does Breeze handle that? Like, Breeze is old. He's an old dude.
All right, so that about wraps it up for the first portion of our show. And now we are going to do something. We are going to have a playoff fantasy draft live for you guys to watch. I know some of you are doing playoff fantasy football. We decided to kind of do one of our own with just the 4 of us, make it a little bit interesting. The way we're doing this is we are going week by week, no matchups. We're all playing up against each other. We're each going to draft 10 players here, and these are going to be our players throughout the whole season, no pickups or anything. The only thing is after this first round, so starting the next week, each week the person with the lowest scoring points is eliminated, and the person with the highest scoring points can actually grab players off of their team. So without going into all those rules, just know we're doing this fantasy playoff draft. We're trying to pick players that we think are going to go far into the playoffs, plus ones that we think are going to score. So, with that being said, do you guys think you're ready to do a little draft?
Let's go.
I
Heck
love
no.
drafts. Let's go.
Not ready, but I'm pumped, baby.
Let's
All right.
go.
So we are
10
choosing
rounds, 40 picks. Let's go.
We are choosing the order of this draft based off of the breakout player of the week segment that we went all season long. Bobby was first place for that, so we are doing it based off of that order. Bobby with the first pick, John with the second, I'm going third, and Bud is fourth, and this is a snake draft. So we are going 4 picks for each round, 10 rounds, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 2 flexes, leaving us with 3 bench spots. We're going to try to keep it about to a minute a pick, but we're going to see. We're not really timing ourselves or anything, but we'll do our best to keep you entertained throughout. So, Bobby, with the first overall pick of the LMFS playoff draft, Robert Janis selects.
I had the same guy up until like maybe just before the show. I changed my mind, so maybe this is the guy that you think I'm picking. But I'm gonna take Alvin Kamara here.
That is not the guy who I thought you were taking, but
Oh.
I think
I know the guy who you thought I was taking,
who?
and it wasn't Kamara or the other guy that I was gonna pick. But anyway, that's my pick, and I feel
Alright.
good about it.
Oh,
Alright.
K-Mac punching air right now. K-Mac's punching air.
Nah,
That's your boy, K-Mac.
that's who I wanted. I wanted Kamara. I was definitely sold on him. So
I really like
And
Kamara in this, but he
I
was
really-
not going to be my number 1 overall pick. But it is time for John with the second overall pick. You got your guy?
I do. Running back, University of Alabama. Give me Derrick Henry.
Nice.
All right, a guy who I think you earlier predicted to go out in the first round. Should be interesting. All right, so with me, with the third pick, I'm going quarterback, and I am going Patrick Mahomes. Like I said,
Nice.
I'm predicting him to go all the way. I know he's not playing this week, but I don't care. I'm taking the quarterback. I'm taking Patrick Mahomes. Guy's going to ball out every game he does play, and I think he is going to be playing all the way. So that's my pick at number 3. Bud, you're getting 2 picks in a row. Any idea who you are picking yet, or do you need some time to fill?
I'm just gonna start filling it out. I'm just gonna start filling it out now because I know what it's gonna be.
Well, I will say this, K-Mac, you sniped me. You
Oh,
you
yeah?
actually sniped me. I was gonna go Mahomes.
I was
Um,
considering going Mahomes at 1.
Yeah, no, I was gonna go him. But
Oh, big surprise there.
I didn't even say
Yeah.
it. I didn't even- but that was my
Am I right though?
yeah, that was my pivot. That was my pivot. But yeah,
I knew it. I think we all
but
knew
yeah,
where this was going.
I wanted to run the stack. So yeah, I'm good with that. And so okay. We have to say who I picked. So I picked Josh Allen, and then on the turn I picked Stephon Diggs.
No.
But John kind of went and did that for me. But
I just knew, man. I just knew, bud.
you had a feeling.
Doing all these shows all season, I just knew.
I finally got Stephon Diggs in one of my leagues.
All right. So I bet you knew if you didn't take one of those two guys, I was going to take them next. But I'm going to turn around and get a little stack of my own. I'm going wide receiver Tyreek Hill. So I'm good with that little stack right there. I think that is one of the best in football. And since I see them going all the way to the Super Bowl, I'm happy with those guys. It's a little tough that both of my picks are not going to be playing week 1. So this is going to be interesting. So, John, you know your player yet? Or you want me to fill for a little bit?
No, I got it. I was thinking of a little bit, but I'm going quarterback here. I think you know what? I'm gonna go with my my Super Bowl loser, but I'm going Drew Brees.
Oh. Ooh. Interesting. Yeah, Drew Brees
Yeah,
is a player.
No, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, I feel like I need a quarterback, and I want a quarterback that's gonna go far. So that's probably my best bet.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think that I think that he is going to go far. I see very likely that he'll make the Super Bowl, even though he was not one of my picks. But I think it's still a good pick nonetheless. Yeah, because I would rather have Drew Brees as a quarterback than no quarterback when it comes to Super Bowl week. So, yeah, I think it's a very solid pick. Now, Bobby, it's come around again with the 4th pick in the 2nd round. You know who you're picking yet?
I've been thinking about it, but I'm gonna go with Travis Kelce for my one of my flexes. I mean, he's just such a premium at his position. He's like a wide receiver 1, and he broke tight end yardage record this year. So, and again, I believe Kansas City's gonna go far as well. So for me, Kelce was a no-brainer. And then going back on the round 3 turn, again, keeping in line with my Super Bowl predictions, I'm going my number 1 receiver, Michael Thomas, who's coming back, and he's healthy. And he's going to be fed. And again, because I like the Saints going far and I like Thomas, I'm going Mike MT.
All right. So now we have Michael Thomas off of the board. That is 3 wide receivers gone, 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, and a tight end. John, with the 2nd pick in the 3rd round, who you got?
This is actually like a lot tougher than I thought.
This is so tough, man.
But I'm going with the best receiver in football. I don't know how he lasted this long, but give me Devontae Adams.
That was your boy. That was at it, K-Mac? That was it, right?
That's who I thought you were going.
Yeah, that's you.
The first
I don't think
pick.
the Packers are getting past the divisional round. That's the only reason why I didn't take Adams. But go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
Ooh.
Go.
No. I mean, like a lot of, like I said, we had debate, or there was the debate all season, like who was the best receiver in football, and Devontae Adams was like, yeah, you guys can talk about who's the best, but I'm going to show you who's the best, and he proved that championship week. I know Bobby, he carried Bobby to a title over K-Mac, just saying.
I don't want to talk about it.
I'll take him.
All right. So, I'm going to stick with the Green Bay Packers. I'm going Aaron Jones. But I still think he's going all the way. I think he's going to be one of the guys playing at the end of the year. But, yeah, I'm going with Aaron Jones for this one. All right. So we have made it to the last pick of the 3rd round. Now, Bud has already picked Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs with his first 2 picks, and if Bobby is any right about his prediction for that first game, he's going to be without a quarterback starting in the divisional round. So, Bud.
Bud believes that 100% for sure.
But if Bud is right, he's going to have a quarterback and a wide receiver playing in all 4 weeks going to the Super Bowl, and Josh Allen lifting up the Lombardi Trophy. But, Bud, with the 4th pick of the 3rd round, Bud selects.
Let me get. Oh man, this is tough. Now it's tough.
Dude, it's tough. This is tough. This is hard,
Right?
man. This is
Nitty gritty right now. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to pick a player who you think is going to go far, and that player could be out after the first week, depending on how the dominoes fall. So
I'm gonna take my time. So if you guys want to fill for a few, like 30 seconds, I'll
absolutely.
Have a pick
For those listening to us on the podcast, I'm going to give a quick recap of what we got so far. So Bobby with the first overall picked Alvin Kamara, followed by John's choice of Derrick Henry. K-Mac followed it up by taking the first quarterback off the board in Patrick Mahomes. Bud went with his boy Josh Allen, followed by his other boy Stephon Diggs. K-Mac around the turn in round 2 picked up Tyreek Hill to complete his stack with Patrick Mahomes. John picked Drew Brees. Bobby went Travis Kelce with the last pick of round 2, and Michael Thomas with the first pick of round 3. John went Devontae Adams, a steal, if you ask me, for the second pick of the third round. And lastly, I went running back with Aaron Jones for Green Bay. Now, Bud, you got 2 back-to-back picks. Who do you got?
I do. All right. So first, I'm gonna go running back here. I'm gonna take Nick Chubb.
Okay.
I need
Going with the Cleveland Browns, banking on them, the tough matchup against the Steelers.
Yep.
If you need a minute to decide your next pick.
No, I think I'm pretty crystal clear on this one. I'm gonna go running back again, and I'm gonna take J.K. Dobbins.
dang it, that was my guy.
Oh, that's who I was thinking about. Good pick. Good pick.
All right, so
Bud
I
loving
really
that
like
back-to-back
pick of
turn.
J.K. Dobbins. I'm going to start to make things a little more interesting. I'm going to go another quarterback. I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers here.
Ooh,
I'm
he
playing
took
defense now.
both bye-week quarterbacks.
Whoa!
I am playing defense now. I
was
don't even
actually,
care. I'm going to roll without a quarterback for the
I was
first week.
I was actually thinking Aaron Rodgers here, like if you left him up. Literally, my 2 picks were J.K. Dobbins 1, Aaron Rodgers 2, and now I have to think for a second.
All right,
Oh,
so
God. What
to
do I even
recap
want?
things for me, Bobby doesn't have a quarterback yet. I have Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, the 2 guys who I project going to the Super Bowl.
No trades, unfortunately.
No trades, unfortunately. The pickups that we have in this system are pretty limited. So the way we're doing it after this first Super Wild Card week, first place is the top scorer is the only team that is allowed to make a waiver pickup. So a lot of teams are going to be without players. I'm already, if we look at it, I don't have a single player playing in the first round. I have Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Aaron Jones. It looks like I'm punting on this first round already, so I don't think I'm going to win that, so who knows? I might just go all the way with this Green Bay, Kansas City thing. I got Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Aaron Jones, and Aaron Rodgers with that Green Bay, Kansas City stack. All right, John. So far, John has picked Derrick Henry. He's picked Drew Brees. He's picked Devontae Adams. With the third pick in the 4th round, John selects
Hollywood Brown from Baltimore.
Whoa!
Interesting choice.
I needed another receiver because I don't have Devontae Adams week 1. Like I said, I'm kind of like screwing myself a little bit with going Henry against Brown, but I kind of like my chance. I mean, like if one of them goes, I'm definitely trying to win this first round, so I can get a pickup, so I can get rid of some dead weight, which is very well going to be either Derrick Henry or Hollywood. So one of them, I will hopefully if I win.
All right, so we have come back to Bobby. Bobby with the first pick picked Kamara. Second pick grabbed Travis Kelce. And in the third pick picked Michael Thomas. Still has yet to grab a quarterback. Is now the time that he does it?
It is, yeah. I thought John was going to take him, but I'm going to take Lamar Jackson. I have the Ravens in my final 4. I mentioned earlier, I think he exercises playoff demons, and that rushing ability in fantasy is very valuable. So I like Lamar here. And then the other pick, I had made my decision. I was kind of going back and forth a little bit here, but I'm going to go for the points this round. I'm going to take Jonathan Taylor, who I believe is going to have a great game this week and next week, even though they'll lose to Kansas City the following week. But I just love everything that Jonathan Taylor's doing, and he's really seeing the NFL field now well. So I'll take Jonathan Taylor there.
Wow, nice.
All right,
Yeah,
so
that's a
now
good-
we
yeah, that's
have
good.
gone to the second
Good
pick
pickup.
of the 6th round. John already got Derrick Henry, Drew Brees, Devontae Adams, and Hollywood Brown. So, John, do you have any idea who you're picking up with this next pick yet?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like I'm definitely trying to win this week, and I think this guy is actually gonna have a good game. He was one of the best backs to close out the season, and that's gonna be David Montgomery from Chicago. Like I said, I definitely don't think he's going to be there. I don't think they're gonna win at all, but I don't think they're winning this week. So I think this is gonna be a 1 week thing. But I think he balls regardless.
All right, so since I have already given up on week 1,
Bring out the punting unit for week 1, K-Mac.
hey, but I don't need it when all of my team is already guaranteed to be playing in week 2. Well, half of your guys' teams aren't going to be there. And that includes
Ooh.
this guy who's also
it's
going to
getting
be
spicy.
playing
I
in
love
week
it.
2, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I see him. I think that the Chiefs have one of the best chances to make the Super Bowl. I'm stacking up on them, and I am ready for that Super Bowl matchup. The question is, will I make it that far? So, to wrap up my team so far, still just going with Packers, still just going with Chiefs. I am 5 rounds in and do not have a player playing next week. Good thing we don't have anyone being eliminated then, huh? So, to recap, I have Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Aaron Jones, Aaron Rodgers, CEH. Bud has Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Nick Chubb, and J.K. Dobbins. And with 2 back-to-back picks in the 5th going around to the 6th round. Bud, you know who you're going with yet?
Yeah, for my first pick, this will be an easy one for me. I'm gonna go DK Metcalf here.
That's a good choice, but he has a tough matchup in this week. I was really high on DK Metcalf for a time, but I'm not even sure he's going to make it past the first round. I think that he is a high upside pick going with the last pick of the 5th round. 'Cause if he can make it past his first round, he is money. He is maybe one of the most talented receivers out of all these guys with a ton of upside. He's so athletically gifted. And, yeah, we'll see where that goes if he can make it past the LA Rams. So, Bud,
He's
you
got
another
Jalen Ramsey to deal with, though.
yeah, that's going to be a tough one. So, if he can make it past Ramsey, if the Seahawks can make it past the Rams, then we're going to be cooking. All right. So, who do you have at the first pick of the 6th round?
Man, this is tough.
Hey, if you need a minute, I could talk about something more.
Yeah, go for it. I'll be quick though.
All right.
It's between like 2 guys right now.
Okay, so we are starting to see some of these teams form up. Bobby's got Lamar Jackson at quarterback, Alvin Kamara and Jonathan Taylor at running back, Michael Thomas at wide receiver, and Travis Kelce at tight end. Since we're not really playing with the tight end, he's going to go in as a flex position. John's got Drew Brees at the quarterback, Adams and Hollywood Brown at the receiver position, David Montgomery and Derrick Henry as the running backs. I've got all Chiefs and all Packers with Mahomes, Hill, Jones, Rodgers, and CEH. Bud has Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Nick Chubb, J.K. Dobbins, DK Metcalf. And with the first pick of the 6th round, Bud goes
Wide receiver again. I'm going Godwin here.
All right. Talk about Godwin for a minute while I figure out somebody else to pick.
Yeah, I really like his value, especially where I got him here. I know we kind of like talked bad about the Buccaneers, but Brady's been really connected with Godwin lately, and we're still uncertain about Mike Evans' status. Apparently, he's trying to get good. He's been working out the knee, but Godwin's been making some pretty incredible touchdown catches, and I'm really excited to see him play, and hopefully he gets some work. But I do think that he's going to get some good opportunity here and get some deep balls, because Brady's kind of been throwing the deep ball more than we're accustomed to seeing, and it's been pretty great because he's been pretty spot on accurate with some of his throws. So yeah, I really like that, and probably going to end up flexing him. But yeah, I kind of felt good about that one.
All right. So for this next pick, I think I'm finally going to pick someone who's not a Packer or a Chief. And that I am going with one of the guys who I think has the most potential. And that's A.J. Brown. I like him. I think I was the only one out of us who picked him to win against the Ravens. I still think the Ravens have a huge chance to win. So for me, this is a little bit of a risky play. But I think that he's out for big game potential every week, and I definitely do like him going forward in these playoffs. So outside of Green Bay and Kansas City, I will have at least one player to play in this first super wild card round. So next we have John, who's picked so far, Derrick Henry, Drew Brees, Devontae Adams, Marquise Hollywood Brown, David
I
Montgomery.
hear him typing.
And he is ready for the pick. The pick is in with the third pick in the 6th round. John Vivero selects
Chase Claypool,
Chase
receiver,
Claypool.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Off the board.
Now this team off the board. Now this team's gonna throw. They're gonna throw a lot. We've seen it. We've seen it all season. Ben throws the ball like 60 times a game. I don't see anything changing, especially the Browns.
It is interesting. I believe that is the first Steelers receiver off the board. Bobby, do you know who you're picking with the next pick yet?
The second Steelers receiver that'll go off the board, Deontay Johnson. He's been really solid in
A favorite
PPR
of the
leagues.
podcast.
Yeah, he's been really solid in PPR leagues, and he has great route running skills. He fits really well with the scheme in Pittsburgh. And I believe the Steelers will beat Cleveland, so I'll have him for the first 2 games until they lose to Baltimore in the divisional round. So with that, I'll take Deontay. And then round 7, I'm going to dig a little deep here. I don't know if I'll get him on the turn, but I'm going to just go all in on Antonio Brown. He showed out last week, and he's starting to incorporate himself into the Bucs offense a little bit more. I like the Bucs in the Final Four as well. That's another key factor for me. So I'll stack some receiver depth there and go with Johnson and Brown there.
I just realized I had to. I just realized I had to differentiate which Brown is which Brown on the board because they're both A Brown.
Yeah, we
I changed
need
that
to
up a
be
little
clear
bit.
on that. I don't want Antonio Brown anywhere near my team. So that's just my thoughts. So we are into the 7th round, and John has the second pick there. He's already got Henry, Brees, Adams, Brown, Montgomery, Claypool. John, you got a 7th round pick?
Yeah, I don't know if I really like it, but I think I'm just gonna go James Conner and call it a day. Like, I mean, I think I might have him for 2 rounds, so we're just gonna go with that. Is it OR or ER at the end of his name?
ER. It's an ER. I know.
It's
I've
ER,
seen him
right?
on my
Yeah.
bench plenty of
Okay.
games this year.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't really feel great about it, but I'm like, you know what? If I can get him for a couple games, then I get him for a couple games.
Yeah, this is another guy. I saw him last week. I saw him go down, and I thought it was an ACL tear. Now he's leaning towards playing this week. I'm going to go with him. I picked them earlier about not going past the first round, but I'm not 100% confident in that. I'll take a gamble on it, and I will go with Mike Evans with the 3rd pick in the 7th round. So, Bud, now with 2 picks, starting the 7th, going into the 8th round. So far, he has that Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs stack. He's got Nick Chubbs and J.K. Dobbins at the running back position, DK Metcalf, and Chris Godwin at receiver. So, Bud, do you have a 7th round pick yet, or do you need a minute?
No, I do. I'm gonna go Ronald Jones here.
All right, not a bad pick, especially if the Buccaneers go far.
That was my pick. Nice pick, bud.
Good pick,
All
bud.
right. So you do have 2 back-to-back picks here. So do you have another pick yet, or do you need us to talk about Ronald Jones for a minute?
Yeah, if you guys want to talk about Ronald Jones, I'm just looking at another two players that I have my eye on. But
Yeah, I
go
got
ahead.
nothing on Ronald Jones. What do you guys talk about?
I mean, I'd like the Bucks to be in the Final Four, so he was a guy I was looking at. He's come back and he's going to see the majority of the carries in Tampa. I think they're going to try to lean on the run game a little more. Brady tends to do that in the playoffs a little bit more as well, and so I like him at the value where you can get him here.
Yeah, it was the right spot for me. I wanted to wait till it was a little bit later. So I was pretty happy to get him in round 7. So that made me pretty happy. But yeah, I think he's poised to have a good game. I don't think it's going to be Fournette's going to steal too much into his workload. So I think they are what Bobby said. I think they're going to rely on the run game a little bit more here. I'm going to go quarterback here. I'm going to take Russell Wilson.
All right, interesting. We got
Good
Russell
pick.
Wilson.
Great pick, actually.
And you know what? I'm going to stick with the Seattle Seahawks, and I'm going to go with Chris Carson here. I'm not sure
you're the
how
worst.
far
I hate you.
I'm not sure how far they're going to make it, but I do like having a solid running back that I could depend on. I think the Seahawks have the potential to make a run into the playoffs. While I don't totally see that happening, I'd like to have Chris Carson if that does indeed happen. So, John, since I just stole your pick, do you need a minute to look into somebody?
Nah, I'm sticking with running back. I'm not happy about it, but I'll take Antonio Gibson. He's there. Might as well. Why not? I hate you. We're not friends anymore.
No, actually, I think Antonio Gibson's a good pick. If the upset that I think 3 of us predicted does happen and they make it past the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that's 2 solid games that you're going to get out of this guy who, talking about surprises of the year, Gibson really showed out during the second half of the season, and he was great.
Once Alex Smith came back,
Yeah.
once Alex Smith took over, that's really when it's like the whole offense was cooking. So yeah, that was me getting him in the 8th round is good. It's just I think the tougher matchup why a lot of us are like I think it's gonna be closer than we would like. So but whatever. Starting running back, we'll take it.
Yeah, it's definitely this time in the draft where even though we're in a 4-team draft and they're all going to be good players, you really have to take a gamble. Do you think this guy's going to make it past the first round? Do you think this guy has the potential to even to give you points week after week? Or are you going to go someone more dependable who you see going to the Super Bowl but may not be getting as many touches, but just to give you somebody thinking ahead? It's what week your team is really playing for. Are you playing to try to make it and survive, go on? You don't need to be first place. Or do you want to make it a team that's set up for the Super Bowl but could risk your team on the way there? So, Bobby, to close out the 8th round, you got 2 back-to-back picks leading into the 9th. Who do you got?
Rojo, I was looking at Rojo, but I'm gonna take because Travis Kelce's gonna be out on a bye week, so I'll take that boy Mark Andrews to replace him in my flex. I still think he's the number 1 passing option in Baltimore. It's a PPR league, and I think there's gonna be some points in this game. So I love the Hollywood Brown pick by John as well, and I like Mark Andrews here. And then round 9. I guess I'm gonna take Leonard Fournette because I need running back depth, and again, I think the Bucks are gonna make it to the Final Four, and the Colts will lose in the divisional round, so I'm going to need a running back then. So just to have a body, I'll take Leonard Fournette. Not happy about it.
Yeah, these are starting to get the picks that we may not be so happy about. But, John, do you have a pick yet for the second pick of round 9?
I do actually have a pick. It's one that I like fantasy-wise, but I don't like matchup-wise. So I'm probably only going to have him for 1 week. And that is going to be Robinson. It's probably going to be the last game we see of him. I'm pretty certain about this. So he's free agent after this season. So you want your last impression to be a good one, and I think he balls out. He's a PPR monster.
Yeah, that's true. I had Allen Robinson way down on my board just for the fact that I don't see him making anything after this first week. And as you can see through my choices so far, my strategy isn't really to get that first week win, but to try to have a team that's going to compete for the Super Bowl. So I really do like Allen Robinson this week. Don't get me wrong. He's going to put up a lot of numbers against the Saints, I believe. He's been a solid fantasy player all season. So I like the pick normally. But like you said, these are getting down to the picks that we may not love, but we're going to take. And the same goes for me. Actually, I think I'm going to try to go for one of these picks that I think may make it to the Super Bowl and may still end up being one of those guys who will give me points anyways, and I'm going to go Latavius Murray. I know I picked the Packers and the Chiefs, but yeah, I think that he's a pretty safe play if you want somebody to be playing in the Super Bowl, if it's not one of the two teams that I just bank so heavily in. So for that, I believe that is 4 running backs for me. I have Aaron Jones, CEH, Chris Carson, and Latavius Murray. I'm feeling pretty good at the running back position. My wide receivers, Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, Mike Evans, and I got a couple of quarterbacks in Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. My goal, hopefully, is to be playing in the Super Bowl week against a team with no quarterbacks. So that's my strategy there. But I could lose in the divisional round, and somebody could have one of those away from me, be stealing Patrick Mahomes. So, Bud, looking at his team, we started off with the Buffalo Bills stack of Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. He didn't need an incentive to root for those Bills. He's going to be rooting all the way. You had Nick Chubb and J.K. Dobbins, a couple of running backs with the next 2 picks, followed by a pair of wide receivers with DK Metcalf and Chris Godwin. Followed it up with Rojo. And lastly, he picked Russell Wilson. Now, Bud, these are your last 2 picks of the draft. We had the final pick of the 9th round, followed up by the first pick of the 10th and final round. Bud, do you know how you're going to be rounding out your team?
Not really. I don't know, man. Because the pickings are kind of slim, and it's like they're opposite of basically the team that I built. So it's like I'm gonna lose somebody like out of like one of these. So it's kind of dicey right now.
So it's whether or not you want to play the risky play and put all your eggs in 1 or 2 baskets, or if you want to spread them out and have a chance to compete week after week. So there's really 1 to 2 strategies that all of us are going into, and we're starting to see how some of our teams are shaping out. I've already talked about mine and Bud's team. Let's talk about John's for a minute. Only picked 1 quarterback so far. That is Drew Brees with a questionable pick in the 2nd round, if I may add. He had Derrick Henry, David Montgomery, James Conner, and Antonio Gibson as his running backs. Devontae Adams, Hollywood Brown, Chase Claypool, and Allen Robinson as his wide receivers. So it'll be interesting to see what he does with his last pick. And for Bobby, he had Alvin Kamara with his first pick. I think just a solid choice at number 1. Travis Kelce, one of only 2 tight ends taken off the board at the 2nd. And Bobby grabbed the only other tight end in Mark Andrews. He had Michael Thomas, who he believes would be the best wide receiver for this fantasy playoff challenge. Also picked Deontay Johnson and Antonio Brown. His quarterback is Lamar Jackson. Other running backs, Jonathan Taylor and Leonard Fournette. Now, I think we have given Bud plenty enough time to at least come up with one of his 2 picks. So, Bud, with the 4th pick in the 9th round, Buffalo, Bud Stanio is going with...
Going all Buffalo here. Zach Moss, please.
All right, I like it. I definitely think that's another good... He was up in the air between him and... who was I going to say? Latavius Murray for 2 guys that I think are going to be playing in that championship game and have a potential to be playing in the Super Bowl. So if you got guys that you think are going to make it far, and like you've already said, you're predicting the Bills to go all the way. So it's nice to have a running back, even one who might not be as high as Zach Moss. I think that's a nice little addition to help round up your team. So, Bud, you have your final pick?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go tight end here. I'm gonna go Bobby Tunyon.
Oh, that was who I was gonna pick. So that's a good one. Man, somebody talk about Robert Tonyan for a second while I look at who I'm gonna choose.
Yeah, I
This
mean,
guy absolutely came out of nowhere. Great pick,
yeah,
bud. I love it.
yeah. I mean, pretty much, what you said. But he did have a down game in week 16, which was kind of a bummer. But I'm not complaining. But he turned into one of Aaron Rodgers' favorite targets, and I think he's going to really, lean on him. Again, even in the Chicago game, he only had 2 receptions, but he did have a touchdown. Um, that Week 16 game was broke his streak. Basically, though, since Week 11, he's had a touchdown every game, and at least usually averaging about 5 targets a game, and he's caught all of them. So if he's getting the ball thrown his way, the expectation is Aaron Rodgers is like, you better catch that ball, or I'm not going to throw it to you again. That's pretty much Rodgers' mentality. So I do think that he's going to get reps, and he's going to be relied on once he comes in. And plus, I wanted to get at least one guy that was on a bye week. All my guys are playing week 1. So basically what you said, John, I basically wanted to, jump in and, I want to try to get as many points as I can get in week 1, because I would like to have a pickup depending on, whoever remains. So that's kind of my mentality going in. But I also wanted to diversify my team a little bit.
All right, so this next one was a little tough for me. I was on the fence between a few people. I guess, and I'm not thrilled at the pick, but I'm going pants down John Brown.
Oh, thank God.
I'm not sure if that is even the top Bills receiver that I would have liked here, and I automatically regret my decision, but I'm going to stick with it anyways because it's too late. So go ahead.
Admit it.
John.
The name had something to do with influencing your
I
pick.
really
Always.
wanted to say
Always.
that. So
Pants down John Brown, man.
Hands down, John
I
Brown.
acquired him in our
We've been
league
saying it
last
for
year,
like
John,
3
from
years.
you.
Yep, we did. Yep, I remember that trade.
Yep.
all right, so we just have 2 picks left. And John, I think he already has a guy in mind, and it might have been the guy who I was planning on taking. But John, who are you going with your final pick? And yep, he's going with Tyler Lockett. Great
Yes,
for
sir.
a final round pick if you expect him to get past the first round.
Yeah, like I said, I like him to win. We're gonna see a whole lot of Jalen Ramsey on a whole lot of DK Metcalf. So I think Tyler Lockett's gonna be able to run a little free. I think the Seahawks are gonna win. I don't trust Jared Goff at 100% against the Seahawks, and I definitely don't trust him at 45%. So give me Tyler Lockett.
All right, so we have 1 pick left in this LMFS playoff draft. Bobby, with the final pick in the draft. So far, he's gotten Alvin Kamara, Travis Kelce, Michael Thomas, Lamar Jackson, Jonathan Taylor, Deontay Johnson, Antonio Brown, Mark Andrews, Leonard Fournette, and finally, Bobby selects.
Yeah, another boring one, Le'Veon Bell. I'm just going all in on my Super Bowl picks and my final 4 picks, and I might need a body in the Super Bowl. So if I get that far, obviously, I'll take Le'Veon Bell.
I like it. Not a bad pick at all. All right.
Thank you.
Pick. I was between. I was taking Bell if Lockett was taken. So definitely a good pick.
I went so far back and forth for that last one between Brown, Beasley, Lockett, and Bobby Trees. I even juggled going Le'Veon Bell, but I saw that I already had 4 running backs and didn't think I needed it. But, I'm happy with most of my team except for my last pick. If I could take it back, I would, but we can't, and that's the
Pants
game.
down John Brown, brother.
He might be the only healthy Bills
John
receiver,
Brown.
but I think Stephon Diggs is going to be good to go. Let's do a quick recap. We already talked about Bobby's team, but I'm going to mention it one more time. Kamara with the first pick, Kelce with the second, Thomas with the third, Lamar Jackson in the 4th pick, only quarterback on his team, Jonathan Taylor, Deontay Johnson, Antonio Brown, Mark Andrews, Leonard Fournette, and Le'Veon Bell. Bobby, let's hear your explanation on why you drafted this team.
It all goes back to my final four: Bucks, Ravens, Chiefs, Saints. So I wanted to try to play safe as well as try to like go all in with my picks and last a little while. So yeah, I'm just gonna go all in with what I thought, and yeah, that's basically my thought process there.
All right, so John, he had the second overall pick, and he went with Derrick Henry, followed by his only quarterback of Drew Brees, Devontae Adams, Marquise Hollywood Brown, David Montgomery, Chase Claypool, James Conner, Antonio Gibson, Allen Robinson, and Tyler Lockett. John, what are your thoughts on your squad you put together?
Yeah, so for the most part, I was kind of going with players that are going to be playing. At least going to be playing at least 2 weeks for me. Obviously, I have Derrick Henry and Derrick Henry going against Hollywood Brown. Um, and then like I have Gibson and no, I just have Gibson. Never mind. I thought I had a second. I almost took Scary Terry. That's why I was thinking I had two Redskins. No, but anyway, but I also have two players that I think are going to be done this week too, in Montgomery and Robinson. So I'm banking on having a lot of points this week, scoring some, getting that winning that pickup for week 1, so I could adjust my team accordingly.
All right, and I had the third pick. I had Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Aaron Jones, Aaron Rodgers, CEH, AJ Brown, Mike Evans, Chris Carson, Latavius Murray, and John Brown. And I think my strategy was pretty clear. I gave up on week 1 the second this draft started. um, my play. I'm not fighting for a chance to pick up somebody for week 2 and beyond because I already have 5 players who are guaranteed, and I'm happy with that lineup of Mahomes, Hill, Jones, Rodgers, and CEH. I feel like I'm gonna have one quarterback at least in the Super Bowl. If my prediction is right, I'm gonna have 2. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with my team, and I think I'm ready to see you guys in the divisional round. Last but not least, we had Bud. He had a lot of back-to-back picks, starting with his choices of Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs getting that Buffalo stack. Nick Chubbs, J.K. Dobbins, D.K. Metcalf, Chris Godwin, Rojo, Russell Wilson, Zach Moss, and Robert Tunyon. Bud, what are your thoughts on the team you put together?
Yeah, I like it. I kind of want to have the option of having a stack. I have 2. Um, I'm not going to start Russell Wilson this week. Obviously, I do like Josh Allen's matchup a little bit better, but I might interchange those guys. They are 2 quarterbacks that I've rolled through season-long fantasy with, so I kind of know how they perform and how they play under pressure. So I'm pretty happy. I do like my running backs a lot because I got workhorse guys. So that was something I was looking for on the running back pick. I couldn't really get going on the guys that have the buys. I mean, you and Bobby pretty much swooped in, and you got those guys. And I will say I really wanted Aaron Jones, but you got him before me, so that's why I loaded up on running back on the turn at 3 and 4. But I'm pretty happy with it. Actually, K-Mac, man, you sniped me a bunch. To be honest, if you didn't pick Mahomes, I was actually going to go Mahomes Kelsey.
Huh.
That was my original plan.
I was actually close to going Mahomes Kelsey too. I was very unsure whether I wanted to go Kelsey or Hill. I think that they are both great options. Those are the 2 guys who are definitely going to be getting the ball. And I think, besides Bud, I think we all predicted the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl. But yeah, I think that it's great either way for any of those guys. But go ahead, what were you saying?
Oh yeah. No, I'm totally with you. I mean, Tyreek Hill is a wide receiver 1, and Kelsey is a tight end, but he's basically a wide receiver 1. So I mean, either way, like they're both good guys to have. And I mean, having that stack, I mean, we know how successful it is, and stacks have been pretty great. And one thing about this NFL regular season, this has been the highest scoring NFL regular season ever.
It's been a fun one.
It has been pretty great. It missed the chaos of everything that's been going on. with COVID and all the injuries, it has been a great football season, and they made it work, and um, it's been good to see these guys ball out and play, and the game's always changing. It's ebb and flowing, so it's been pretty good to see. And but yeah, anyways, overall, I like my team a lot. I like my receivers. I wish I had one more receiver. I might change that moving forward, but I kind of like the guys that I got, and I hope that they put up some good numbers.
Oh, you only got 3 receivers, and he could be without a receiver in the second round if some of these predictions come true. But yeah, no, I think this was an interesting way to do this draft. I'm excited. Gives me something to root for in the playoffs. Yeah, especially since the Dolphins didn't make it. But yeah. So before we go, I do need to ask Bobby the question that I have been waiting for like 3 hours now. There's talks. Deshaun Watson is upset in Houston. He did not get his say on any of the new hires. He's angry. He's spotted somewhere wearing a Dan Marino shirt, even though I think that was from like a year ago or something. I don't know. Bobby, would you trade Tua Tagovailoa for Deshaun Watson right now? The
He's
suspense is
speechless.
killing me.
He's
muted,
speechless.
but
Yeah, he's probably raging behind his mute button.
Well, from the outside looking in, like non-biased opinion, I would say yes. I mean, somebody he wants out, and Houston's been known to barter with us and make trades. I mean, I know Bill O'Brien isn't there anymore, but with the Dolphins, and I don't know. Deshaun Watson's awesome, and he's proven, and he's great scrambling out of the pocket. He's a good quarterback. He could throw. He could run, and put him into a system. But I mean, who knows what's going to happen with the Dolphins, because there's no offensive coordinator there right now. It depends who goes there. But I mean, if they could trade for him and keep it cheap and not get rid of any of their assets or those 2 coveted draft picks that they have in the first round. I mean, if the price is right and they're able to make something work, I mean, why not? But I honestly, I don't see them. I see them sticking with Tua and not moving on from him. But I mean, I think Deshaun Watson's going to be great wherever he goes.
Yeah, I don't really see that trade coming. Brian Flores is still very high on Tua. Hopefully they'll get him some support in this draft. Give him another year to come off of that hip injury and heal. But Bobby, if you have found the mute button, I've been waiting for your reaction and your answer to this question. Bobby, for right now, would you trade Tua Tagovailoa? It's late. Tua Tagovailoa for Deshaun Watson.
Wow, I was talking this whole time too. I thought nobody could hear me. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
No, I would, because Deshaun Watson's a proven winner wherever he's gone. He's only 25 years old, but
Yeah, they won
the
so
more
many
important
games
thing
this year.
isn't so much that trade, but no matter who we have at QB, we need to get weapons and the right system and the right playmakers on offense, no matter who it is. So like, that's not as big of an issue as me as just the importance of getting some playmakers on offense. That I feel like is the most important thing. So, but if you're comparing those 2 guys, yeah, I would do that trade. Again, Watson's only 25 as well. So go ahead, John.
Yeah, like a player of Deshaun Watson's caliber does not become unhappy at this early on in his career at this young of an age. Like he's only he's 25, 24, 25, right? He's super young.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's 25 years old. Someone of this caliber does not like. Could you imagine if 2 years ago, Patrick Mahomes, maybe he started for like a year and a half, 2 years. He was like, yeah, I don't want to play in Kansas City, like they were dysfunctional, and someone like and he became available. Like you bet the I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're New Orleans, Green Bay, even Seattle. Like you're like, okay, have literally everything. You'd have every draft pick for the next 16 years, and I have my quarterback for the next 10. Yeah, you do that in a second. I don't care who you are. Like I was telling people on Twitter today, I was like, yeah, the Jets need to 100% do everything they can to make this happen. Like, I know that's obviously not the question or whatever, but like the Jets with all the draft capital they have, all like the all the talent that they could hopefully get with it, and the high picks as well. Like, you need to make this happen. Like, anyone needs to make this happen that has the capital, because someone doesn't like a player like this doesn't become available all the time. Like, if you're trying to win and you're trying to like build your franchise up, this is a 100% move. Like, not even a question.
It's actually really interesting to think about how Deshaun Watson would do with the New York Jets. I actually think that he would fit that system really nicely, and I think that
Well,
he'd do
you got to
things
realize that like
Go ahead.
no, like I think like you put time, he's a big time quarterback in a big time market. Like, regardless of what you say about New York or about like the Jets as a franchise, the Giants as a franchise, like the New York market is the biggest market in pro sports. Like outside of like maybe like soccer, like of the four major North American sports. So like he'd be a bona fide star. It'd be Joe Namath times 1,000. Like, think about how big Sam Darnold was when he came to New York. Like, without even playing a snap. And it's 3 years later. He hasn't even played very well, and he's still pretty big. Like, he's not even good. Like, we don't even want him anymore, and he's still a big star in New York. So like Deshaun Watson, national champion Deshaun Watson, like, oh, he would crush it in New York. And then supposedly getting another like a new coach, whole new system in. We get like if Eric Bieniemy comes in with Deshaun Watson, good night. Like, get us Allen Robinson, get us Juju Smith-Schuster, one of them. We got our receivers. Build up the defense.
Yeah, so, man, this show has been going on for pretty much 2 hours now. We've
It's our longest one.
Yeah, we're definitely splitting this
Longest one,
podcast into
baby.
two. Yeah, we talked about the season. We talked about the playoffs. We went into our own playoff draft that we're going to be playing throughout these next few weeks. And we even talked a little bit Deshaun Watson. So I just want to give my take really quick before we end. Yeah, Deshaun Watson is good, but you drafted Tua to be the quarterback of the future. Yeah, he was down a little bit this year, and yeah, he didn't have the weapons that he needed. But you start getting him some weapons, maybe a Heisman winning weapon at the third pick. You start building up that offensive line, get a good running game in there, maybe grab Aaron Jones or another running back later in the draft. I think you're set, and still I'd trade it away for Deshaun Watson in a heartbeat.
Yep, I think that's the consensus.
Agreed. You had us thrown for a curveball a little bit there, K-Mac.
I knew where he was going. I could tell. I could tell. We've done enough shows. I knew where he was going.
John knew.
Nice.
Yeah, man, it is late. So, you know what? I think with that, we are going to wrap up this show. I keep saying the next one's going to be our last one, but we still have room for some more. We want to still sit here and talk some football. We could probably go on for hours if we wanted to, like, just so much to talk about. And with these playoffs coming up, and as great as an NFL year as this has been, I'm only looking forward to these playoffs even more. Got some really good games booked for this weekend. I'm personally excited, like we all talked about, for that Ravens-Titans game. Yeah, another one, I could see that Tampa Bay Buccaneers football team going close. The Rams and Seahawks, I can see being a close one too. And even the Steelers, Browns. Man, there's a lot of good games, and yeah, I'm just excited for it all. We are going to take a few weeks off, but we will be back for the Super Bowl, I think. We haven't all agreed on this yet, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. We're putting on a show for the Super Bowl. It may not be live. We may release it on the day of the Super Bowl. We may release it earlier in the week. Stay tuned. We'll be on some random day. We'll answer questions if you got any. We'll give our Super Bowl picks. We'll talk about how our LMFS playoff draft is going and whatever two teams are left at that point, since we are doing this elimination style. But yeah, so we got that, and you know what? Maybe we'll even do a show afterwards getting ready to preview next year's draft. I don't know. There's a lot to talk about, and yeah, we're just excited to talk fantasy and answer your guys' questions. That being said, any of you guys got any last notes to add to the show before we close it off?
Deshaun Watson to the Jets. Make it happen, Joe Doug.
I think this isn't realistic, but I think a really good landing spot for Watson would be with the Bucs if you put him in that system. With Bruce Arians' type of system, Deshaun Watson is perfect for that vertical system. He holds the ball a lot, and he's very vertical, and that's along with what Bruce Arians does and his philosophy with those receivers. but obviously that's not realistic right now.
Here's a hot take. I think he goes to New England.
Interesting.
No.
fit.
No.
Yeah, I don't think
Oh.
any of us would like to see that.
No, I wouldn't want it to happen. It kind of bums me out because I go to Houston quite a bit, and I've seen Deshaun Watson play live because my aunt has season tickets, and it would be a huge bummer for everybody there. It's kind of crappy that the organization told them that they were going to let him, be a part of the process, and then they kind of just went behind his back and did whatever they want to do. I mean, they own the organization, of course, but when you tell the star player in the future of your franchise that you're going to do one thing and then you don't, like, he's obviously upset, and he wanted it to be known that he wants out. So now definitely teams are going to be calling up Houston and trying to get in there and get him. So hopefully things either work out for him or he does go to a team where he can compete.
One team that I'd like to see, and I think that he would do good with this, you get the right kind of offensive system in with that, but I'd like to see Deshaun Watson throw into those receivers down in Atlanta.
That'd be awesome. That would be great. I'm all for that.
You match him up with Calvin Ridley. You match him up with Julio Jones. Maybe throwing in Eric Bieniemy, depending on whoever they choose to have their head coaching position. But I know he's the guy who's being matched up with basically every job out there. He has been for the last couple of years, but he's just showing a year in and year out that he knows how to run an offense. Could be him. It could be Patrick Mahomes and all the talent he has there. But this guy has done about as much as you can to try to prove that you have head coaching potential in the NFL. And I think that this is the year that he definitely grabs one of those jobs. Man, anything else to talk about? Should we go to bed?
We should go to bed.
All right, guys. So thank you for tuning in. I know this has been a long show. Had some of you guys tuning in and out throughout the show, but really appreciate the listens, the watches, streaming. We're on Spotify. We're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Just search up Last Minute Fantasy Scramble. You can also find us streaming live on Twitch, live in the Facebook Fantasy Football Discussion group. Shout out to that group. We do get a ton of viewers from there, and we appreciate each and every one of you. You can also find our episodes live, or not live, but we do post all our episodes to YouTube also, so you could follow on and watch there. We got big things coming for next year. Just be on the lookout. We are only planning on growing bigger, coming back next season with an even better show. Maybe more ways to watch us, listen to us, whatever platform it is you like to use, you're going to be able to find us on there. That being said, we have officially run for over 2 hours. I am falling asleep at the microphone. I am out of coffee, and I'm Kevin McCartney. Alongside me today, we had John Viveros, we had Bud Stanio, we had Bobby Digital Janice. And audience, we are going to see you for the Super Bowl.